reasons salespeople don't close
the deal.
Okay, I'm ready.
So pretend for a minute you're an experienced buyer who has met hundreds of business salespeople. What percentage would you think were excellent?
I'm going to say 25%.
You're close, but no cigar in this one, Joe. According to a study of more than 230 buyers, 12% are excellent.
Wow.
Which leaves 23% good, 38% average, and 27% poor. So why would you think that would be?
Wow. Don't know.
Underperforming salespeople lack self-awareness. They don't understand what's going on in the exchange with their buyer. They don't take the time to figure out why they lost the deal, and either they don't know why they weren't selected or they reflexively blame it on factors that are completely out of their control. So
they say, it wasn't me, that client was stupid.
Exactly.
That client wasn't hearing what I had to say. He didn't understand
They
me.
called into the office and somebody didn't answer the phone quick enough for them. They blame it on everybody else except themselves. They're not introspective. So number one reason, they are not trusted or respected.
Interesting.
Just 18% of salespeople, buyers, met over the last year would be classified as trusted advisors whom they respect. So
and this is important to hear this, right? Because that means over 80% of the salespeople out there right now listening don't know that they're not respected.
Yeah, they're door knockers. They knock on the door. They don't prepare for the sales call. Many salespeople, I run into them all the time. I go out on a joint sales call, and you find out that the person that you're with, who the salesperson, has not researched the customer when they walk in the door. I have heard salespeople say, so tell me about your business. What do you do? How embarrassing I find that to be, standing in front of a buyer. And the buyer is sitting there saying, this person is an idiot. Why would he come in here and try and sell to me today and with the internet, my website, and other things, and ask me, what do we do?
And what I want them to hear from this is that I promise you they don't think they're part of the 80%. They think they're part of the 18%.
You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Okay.
Number two, they can't converse effectively with senior executives. Oh, my God, how important this one is. How many times does the senior executive, the guy with the pen, the guy that's got the ink in the pen, that signs the actual purchase order, he pushes things down to middle-level management or people in the mid-level in the company to interview all their potential vendors to buy something and then bring me the solution. Interview 4 or 5, bring me only 1 or 2. So all of a sudden now the salesperson is faced with going in and talking with the senior executive. And believe me, that is not a speeds and feeds conversation. That's already been done with middle-level management. It's all about what is this going to return to my business. I know myself, when I was in a position where I was buying equipment or on a budget review committee, many times I would ask a simple question: what happens if I make no decision? If I make no decision, how is it going to affect the company? And many times people wouldn't have the answer for it. That's the kind of discussion that goes on at the senior level. Many salespeople can't handle that discussion.
And that's a completely different education process at that level. I mean,
sure it is.
People that can sell at different levels. That's why I tell people all the time, I'm really good with gross sale, business owners of gross sales $5 million or less. When you get above that, it's a different type of a person, different type of thought process. And that's really where this comes into play. You've got to know who that is you're talking with.
That's right. It's a completely different language in many cases. Number 3, they can't clearly explain how their solution helps the buyer's business. This is the discussion that goes on at the senior level. Does it reduce cost? Does it reduce downtime if you're selling industrial equipment? Does it increase productivity? Those are the kind of questions that you're going to get in the executive suite. And it is definitely a different conversation to have.
If you haven't thought that through, you should have never knocked on the door to begin with.
That's right. Generally, a lot of those conversations come as a surprise to a salesperson. They go to call on that middle-level manager as a final call to do the deal, and they say, I want you to meet my boss. My boss wants to talk to you before we actually sign this. So you need to be ready for him.
Okay.
Number 4, salespeople are too self-centered. 44% of buyers believe salespeople are only serving their own agenda, while 25% indicated salespeople only care about making the sale. 23% are uncomfortable because it's difficult to say no to them, and 8% of sales people are not the type of person that they want to do business with. So think about this. The buyer is looking at the way a salesperson behaves, the way they talk, the things they may be interested in. You need to be very careful about some of the things you may talk about personally. They always say don't talk about politics. I think people are talking about politics, but you better be careful that the person that you're talking to shares the same feelings that you do before you do. But you need to accomplish on helping the buyer serve their goals, not your goals.
Yeah, it's interesting because I run into this often. Here's the challenge. The challenge is you hear no so much that you have to have this personal confidence to be able to get up in the morning and go make that phone call, right? So the way to get over this and a lot of these other things, and the trusted and respected factor is you have to make sure you have educated and prepped your client before you get there as well. So if they know and they are prepared who Joe is, right, that solves a lot of this. And so I don't feel like I need to sit there for 15 minutes and tell them I'm the best business broker in all of North and South Carolina,
Sure.
right? So if I've prepped in advance for that sales call that I'm getting ready to make, then they know who they're getting ready to talk with. That is much the meeting becomes a more comfortable meeting that can be a consultative meeting instead of me trying to pitch them on how wonderful I am. And I think that's where some of this comes into play. Because if you're not careful, you're going to read this stuff and say, I don't think anybody likes salespeople. And what they're missing is that the truth is we feel like we've got to give ourselves credibility before we can start selling the product and the service. And that should happen before the meeting.
Sure. That's called nurturing, right? So when you set the appointment or before you set the appointment, nurture the client, send them an agenda for the meeting, let them know it's going to be discussed, take the barriers down. So when you walk in the room, it's fully understood how you're going to spend your time together.
Okay.
Number 5, they use the wrong closing strategy. I run into a lot of salespeople that are very good at selling, but when it comes to the close, they just can't get it done. So hard to close techniques, this is coming from the buyer, such as this is the last time we'll be able to extend this offer, or we're rated least effective from the buyer. Hard close creates a binary yes or no answer response from the buyer and is associated with a take it or leave it mentality. They don't like it. Okay, that's selling today is not about what the buyer thinks of as a salesperson. Selling today, if you come up with a solution, it should be the best thing. If you spend another $100,000, this would be a soft close, buying a large piece of capital equipment. You'll receive an additional 10% off the entire order. We're rated most effective. So quid pro quo. Give a little, get a little.